presentation on lucid dreaming, the great synthesis.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for arriving to the summit for what I promise is going to be an interesting and engaging conversation around lucid dreaming. This title of this panel discussion is actually Lucid Dreaming for the Great Synthesis, and we'll unpack that in a little bit. We'll define lucid dreaming, we'll define the Great Synthesis, and after we introduce our panelists, I'm gonna like arc the talk right now. We're gonna talk a little bit about how to lucid dream, but this panel discussion is not about how to lucid dream. There are other workshops that are on the schedule, one tomorrow and there was one yesterday, that cover the domain of how to lucid dream. And there's a lot of resources out there, books, materials on methods and practices for calling in more lucidity in your dream time. And we're gonna do a lightning round of that. But the majority of this conversation is really going to cover the why of lucid dreaming. Why do we want to lucid dream, and how can we use it as a practice for the great synthesis? So without further ado, let's introduce our panelists. I'll introduce myself first. My name is Jonah Gabriel Haas, and I am a co-founder of Lucidity Festival. And thank you. Thank you for coming to this awesome event in our 10th year. This is definitely a challenging code switching moment for me to be in production and then come over here and be talking about lucid dreaming. It's definitely like a mind switch, and so bear with me as I do that switching with all of you. But as we'll talk about in this panel, lucid dreaming encourages multidimensionality, and so this is that in practice. So my relationship to lucid dreaming as a practice, I began as a small child. My dad was looking and reading the Castaneda materials, and he was talking to me as a 7-year-old child about lucid dreaming. So I grew up always knowing about it as a practice, and then I started practicing myself around 19 and keeping dream journals, and really got serious with tracking my dreams and exploring the space. And I've been avidly lucid dreaming my whole life ever since then. So that's me, and this festival is a product of that lucid dreaming in action and in collaboration with other dreamers, all of you being some of those collaborators. So again, thank you for showing up, thank you for dreaming always. And I want to pass the baton down, and we're going to hear from each of our panelists. I want to know who you are and just a little bit about your relationship to lucid dreaming as a practice.
Thank you, Jonah. Yeah. My name is Richard, otherwise known as Ripple. I got involved with lucid dreaming as a teenager, and I still remember the moment that I learned about the word. And I was completely fascinated and hooked right from the beginning because of the potential just in the concept. So, and at the time I was a little bit introverted and not very good at public speaking or dealing with social situations. And lucid dreaming was really important for my personal development, in particular in empowerment. So I was able to learn how to come from a more empowered place in my life, and so it was really important for my personal growth. And from there, it's just been an amazing guide for introspection and learning these innate wisdom that's within the lucid dream state, that's available to everybody. And so it's been a beautiful journey, and it's a great honor to be in front of people, to be able to talk about it and to go into detail about exactly like what's so profound about it. So I'm really happy to be here.
Hey everybody, my name is Sanj, and I'm so stoked to be on the stage. We've been waiting for this since January, and I can't wait to learn more from you guys. I have a lot to share, but I'll try to keep it short. So I've been lucid dreaming since I was a kid, And in 2018, I started a company that explores how isochronic tones and binaural beats can be used to induce the brain into deep relaxation, sleep, dreams, and even lucid dreaming. And yeah, I've been coming to Lucidity since the first one, Jonah, and I just want to thank you again for manifesting this amazing event. And yeah, if you want to learn more about the how, I'll be doing a workshop here tomorrow at 6:45 talking about how you can use sound to induce lucid dreaming. But yeah, looking forward to sharing more.
And that's at 6:45 p.m., right? Not at
6:45
And we're not going to come here and dream together,
Yeah,
right?
guys, in the evening, so you can sleep in.
So my name is Gwendolyn Alley, and I'm a writer and a teacher of writing, and I've taught yoga. I've been lucid dreaming since I was really young, and I didn't have a word for it for the longest time. Generationally, people weren't really talking about lucid dreaming all that much when I was young, and it was really wonderful to find out that there is a word, lucid, to describe my experiences that I was having. But the other thing that was super powerful was to understand that there are choices. So I don't know, there might be some people in the audience where their experiences in the dream world are maybe a little too much, and you get to have a choice in that. And that was really, really important to me. And that within the dream time, we have our choices.
Hello, I'm Eric Casano, and I'm the founder of Aquarian Alchemy, which is a wellness brand, and we mainly focus on breathwork and lucid dreaming. So I began my lucid dreaming experiences when I was about 29 years old, and I was healing from cancer. And I just happened to stumble across a book on lucid dreaming, and just by implementing the very basic dream journaling and reality checks, it made me lucid in my dreams, and my dreams began to show me where my habits came from. And it's such a beautiful way to explore who we are and where we stem from, not just in this lifetime, but in alternate realities, and some people refer to that as past lives as well. So that's where I started. So I think I found lucid dreaming because I wanted to heal myself and I wanted to be happy, and it's a great tool for, like I said, knowing ourselves.
Awesome, thank you. It's great to hear the diversity of how different people have come to lucid dreaming, and there are also a diversity of methods of how we call lucid dreaming into our reality. But before we go into that, I want to define lucid dreaming for all of us so that we're operating under a shared definition. I'm really a proponent of a definition of lucid dreaming that is being aware of the dream as a dream while you're in the dream. And so there's definitely a lot of people who think that lucid dreaming is about dream control, and I just want for us, as we're defining lucid dreaming, to understand that dream control is something that you can do in a lucid dream if you choose to, but it's not necessarily the definition of lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is simply the awareness of the dream as a dream while you're in the dream. And from that point of awareness of the dream as the dream while you're in the dream, there's a whole bunch of really rad stuff that can happen. But there's also, there are, just like any practice, there are tools, there are methods that can get us to that place of recognizing the dream as a dream while we're in the dream, and then staying in that awareness, not letting the dream dissipate because we get so excited and wake ourselves up. And so this next round is going to be quick, because again, this panel is about the why, not necessarily the how, but we are going to cover the how. And so I want each of the panelists to talk about just the high-level Reader Digest version of how you get into a lucid dream most successfully or most often.
I believe a really important part of a practice is the wake back to bed technique, and a lot of practices use that, and that's setting an alarm clock about 2 hours before you normally need to wake up to full consciousness, and then go back into it knowing that you're entering the prime dream time. So this is when you're focusing, you're paying more attention to the state that you're in, and also authentically doing reality checks. So I think that's the foundation for me when I'm doing the practice.
Yeah, for me it's really similar. Like throughout the night, your brain goes into different states of consciousness or brainwave states. So in the beginning, you're in delta. So if you're taking an EEG scan of the brain, you'll see a spike around 2 to 4 hertz. And then as the night goes on, you fall into REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, which is associated with theta, which is 4 to 8 hertz. If you take an EEG scan of the brain. And so what I do is I set my alarm clock on my watch, because it vibrates, it's not obnoxious, for about 5 or 6 hours after I go to bed. And but one other thing I add to it is, so I learned from this book called This Is Your Brain on Music, that by Daniel Levitas, I think his name is, that audio or sound is the only sense where the acoustic energy and the electrical impulses that fire in your brain, there's a one-to-one correspondence. So in electrical engineering terms, the transfer function is 1-to-1. So it's like the closest thing that we have to like programming the brain. So if we know that you're in theta when you are dreaming, you can use sound to entrain the brain into theta by using binaural beats that are in theta. And I'll explain more what binaural beats actually are in my workshop, but so it's a combination of the alarm, getting up around 4 or 5 in the morning, popping up my earbuds and listening to theta waves.
So I came to it very naturally, very young, and so it wasn't like I read a book or I trained myself. But I have studied dream tending, and so that's my tradition, that's my approach. I studied with Stephen Eisenstadt at Pacific Graduate Institute, where I got a degree in community psychology, liberation psychology, indigenous psychology, and eco-psychology. And part of that included social dreaming, so dreaming together, getting into a dream state and going into the same consciousness and going into the same dream in community, doing different kinds of community dreaming, as well as tending our own dreams. And part of that tradition very much includes a lot of writing, and as a writing teacher, I've found that very powerful to use the tools that I have as a writing teacher to tend my dreams. And so just a couple of those to share really quick here is to have your dream notebook, to have a journal. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or special, but to prepare yourself before you go to bed with that notebook, with that pen, and with the intention of tracking that dream. I've been part of something called the 3:15 experiment, where we get up at 3:15 in the morning to write, and writing poetry. And the idea is that you stay in a hypnagogic, hypnopompic state, so between sleeps, and to write down the dreams or the ideas, the images that come in that state. Also in community, because people around the world are writing at 3:15 a.m., which is kind of an unusual thing. And then the final thing is to write in the morning, and to have a writing practice following Natalie Goldberg's 7 rules of writing practice, which include go for the jugular, and to write following Julia Cameron's idea of 3 pages in the morning. So using morning pages, writing for 3 pages or more about what I experienced in the night.
I love that so much, by the way. That's so awesome. It blew my mind when you told me that yesterday. So for me, what I've realized is that lucid dreaming is also a side effect of working on concentration. It's a side effect of meditation, if you will. Now, when I say meditation, I'm talking about working on concentration with our eyes closed. So I've come to realize that if one were to wake up early in the morning, let's say 2 hours earlier than you normally wake up. So if you normally sleep for 8 hours and you decide to sleep for 5 or 6 hours, you wake up, stay awake, and work on concentration. Meditate. Concentrate with your eyes closed for at least an hour or two, and then go back to sleep. So I noticed that if you work on concentration while you're tired, it's very easy to concentrate while you're very awake. Stephen LaBerge calls this the 2-2-2 method. Waking up 2 hours earlier than you normally do, staying awake for 2 hours and doing whatever, and then taking a 2-hour nap. During that nap, you can be lucid. Now, this is a lot like what you're talking about. It's a lot like, it's kind of like wake back to bed, but this is a little different. And that's really what's worked for me. The more I meditate early in the morning, lucid dreaming just becomes a side effect. Lucid dreaming is a byproduct of doing spiritual work, as I've come to find.
Thank you. I also want to share a few methods that have really been pivotal for myself. The reality test, you heard Richard talk about reality tests, but he didn't necessarily unpack it. A reality test is something that we can do to test whether or not we're in a dream or in waking life. And so the method that my father taught me when I was younger, that comes from Carlos Castaneda, is looking at your hands and asking the question, am I dreaming right now? And you can front load that. You can do it in your waking life, looking at your hands and saying, am I dreaming right now? In fact, everybody do it right now. Look at your hands. Am I dreaming right now? You can say it to yourself, but like say it out loud. Am I dreaming right now?
Am I dreaming?
And there's a really interesting, bizarre, like universal, and I don't know why this is, and I'm not going to try to unpack why this is, but it seems to be the case for most people, is that if you look at your dreams if you look at your hands in your dreams and ask the question, am I dreaming right now? In your dream state, they'll morph. You won't be able to focus on your 5-fingered hand. You might have 3 fingers and then 8 fingers. It might be wavy, they might be noodles. I've looked at my hands and seen lobster claws before. So when you see that, that's your indicator that, I am in a dream right now. So that's a reality test. And good reality tests you can front load in your waking life. Am I dreaming right now? And you can habituate it like 10 times a day. Am I dreaming right now? And if you habituate it, it's more likely to show up in your dream state. And then when you look at your hands and ask the question, am I dreaming? And they turn into noodles, then you know you're dreaming. And that's where a practice of lucid dreaming can begin. So yeah, that's like one of my favorite and like lifelong reality tests. And I've also advanced it to, I'll try to stick my finger through the palm of my hand, and if I can't stick it through, I'm awake, I know I'm awake, and if I can stick it through and it comes out the other side, I know I'm dreaming.
Is it okay if I piggyback on that
Please.
Before we move forward? Because I know we got to keep the
worries.
house super short.
Yeah.
So with the reality tests, not only are you programming that in your subconscious mind so you eventually ask yourself that while you're dreaming, it's also a method of becoming super present. The more present you are in your waking life, the more present you'll be in your dream life, and the more likely are you to become lucid. And one more thing I want to say, one other technique that worked for me very well is that when I do the wake back to bed technique, this has worked so phenomenally. I'll wake up, just sit up in my bed, and just do mantras for about 5 or 10 minutes. Really focus, not just say them mindlessly, but really focus on whatever word it is for me. I'll just do Om Namah Shivaya 5-10 minutes. And when I go back to bed, because I had really worked on my concentration, it allows me to be lucid. I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, Jonah, with your permission, can I piggyback off of that?
Yes, we are all pro piggybacking around here.
All right, so you have the Stephen LaBergian state check or reality check, where you're asking yourself, am I dreaming? And that's contrasted with what we have in the East, where in contemplative spiritual traditions like Buddhism and Hinduism, instead of asking yourself, am I dreaming? There's an affirmation. You're constantly reminding yourself that you are dreaming. Right now you're dreaming. When you're asleep, you're dreaming. It's all the same. It's non-dual. and it's all the same. And I believe Carlos Castaneda also didn't use the word lucid dreaming. It was part of life. It was a tool. It was something that was a whole dimension of life that he used for sorcery. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Awesome, and that's a really good segue, because we're going to segue into our question, which is the title of this panel discussion, which is Lucid Dreaming for the Great Synthesis. And so what is the Great Synthesis? Let's define that. As Lucidity is using it in our mythos, the Great Synthesis is about integration. And it's integrating polarity and duality into wholeness. And so over the last 10 years, the Lucidity mythos, we've explored all of these archetypes that you see on the banner, and all of these totem animals that are guardians of these archetypes and examples of these archetypes, and all of these elementals. And we have elemental avatar characters, and each of them embody different energies. And so we've been engaged in this deep, long 10-year journey of exploration of all of these different aspects of self. The archetypes, the totem animals, the elementals. And the Great Synthesis, as we step into the first year of our 4th trilogy, I don't know if you know, but Lucidity has been telling a multi-year, chaptered, epic story of personal, collective, and universal transformation. The first trilogy was about personal transformation. The second trilogy was about collective transformation. The third trilogy was about global transformation, and the 4th trilogy that we're stepping into now is about universal consciousness. And so it's like the expansion of the me to the we to the all of us to the all there is. And so in this first chapter of the 4th trilogy, where we're stepping into universal consciousness, there is an opportunity moment for synthesis and integration of all that we've learned and all of the adventures that we've had and experiences that have taught us along the way. And how do we integrate these various aspects of self into wholeness? So that's like the drop on what the Great Synthesis means to Lucidity. And so now we have the question of how can we use lucid dreaming as a tool or a practice for the Great Synthesis? And I'm open to your answer being at any of those levels of scale. It could be about the personal, it could be about the collective, it could be about global, or it could be about universal consciousness. Totally cool with me. And I'm also down, as we step into this aspect of the panel discussion, for it to be popcorn. So, who wants to go first?
I'm kind of prepared. I'm like anticipating it. So I'm like, let me go, because I'll be holding on to this. One way I see that lucid dreaming works into the concept of the Great Synthesis is lucid dreaming, when you start it, is intensely personal. You're going in by yourself into this realm, and you're trying to bring your level of awareness up so you can have these more profound experiences. And from those profound experiences, however they show up, you're able to heal and grow as a person. And from there, you interact in society at that level. This festival is a really beautiful metaphor and how it works into it too. It's kind of like a big shared dream, and we're all showing up at our level, however far we are with it, and then we're contributing to it in our own way. So early on, when you're doing your personal work, you're showing up, you're seeing what's possible, you're learning the lessons, and then as you keep coming to festivals, or if you keep doing dream work, you start coming from a more empowered, centered space, and then you start actually like manifesting things that you want from it. And so this festival is so beautiful for that, because of the quality of art and music that's here, and these are everyone here is making this. So it's all around us, so we get to experience it here together.
Great, thank you, Richard. That's a really excellent answer, and I appreciate the understanding and shared expression of the festival as a metaphor, because that's the intention.
Okay. Oh, I actually wanted to talk about something you mentioned about hypnagogic writing, because as soon as I was asked to speak on this panel, I started writing in my dream journal again. So I've been doing that for the past 3 months, and I've been coming up with stuff that I can't believe comes from my brain. Like the other night I dreamt that a golden plated centipede, a bejeweled centipede, was crawling up my arm and then becoming my arm, and then I turned into a cyborg. And I'm like, how did I come up with that? And one thing that I've noticed in the past 10 years is that our phones and media have like all these templated stories that kind of exploit our minds and put us into different cohorts, and this duality of us and them, and they're really good at doing this. And that hypnagogic writing or art, or tapping into the subconscious, is something that is desperately needed now to disrupt all these toxic stories and mental loops that we're finding ourselves in. And I think art and dreaming and magic are tools for fostering compassion. So that's my personal synthesis, and something I plan to work on is elevating my sense of compassion for myself and everyone.
I hear in that answer using lucidity and lucid dreaming as a tool for creativity and telling new stories and innovation.
Yes.
And I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback and then keep going, that was something that came up yesterday when we got together and talked, was the way that lucid dreaming and tending your dreams can be a disruption. And this festival is a disruption. That there is consumeristic things. There's so many beautiful things to buy here, but the emphasis here isn't the shopping mall, but it's these experiences. It's the workshops. It's the disruption of the way that we're in our cars and we don't interact with people. Richard was looking for a friend and he came to our camp twice, and then we figured out, hey, we're doing this panel together. And so synchronicity can happen. So with this kind of disruption. And so for me, that's a lot of that connectivity of being lucid, is having synchronistic actually happen all the time. It's I don't want to expect it, but it just is. And what where I wanted to go is about the difference between being anesthetized, because I think so much of the dominant culture is anesthetizing, and to pursue aesthetics, an aesthetic experience, an aesthetic life, to create art, to write, to draw, to be whoever you are, and to feel comfortable expressing that. And one way is to do that through your dreams, and to discover yourself through the practice of writing. So your practice could be writing, your practice could be yoga, your practice could be many different things all at once as you figure out your own way to connect with yourself and your creativity and the greater consciousness, so that more experiences of synchronicity and beauty and art and just living an aesthetic life can come your way, because it's all out there. It's just waiting for you.
Thank you so much.
Writing is so important. It's really a big aspect of what makes a human a human. The Egyptian god Thoth or Thoth the god of writing, he really let us know how important it is to write down our dreams, to write down our lives, to write down philosophies and pass it down. I just wanted to say that. But so for me, the great synthesis, for me, it's about being happy, and it's about synthesizing everything that I've experienced from myself, everything I've learned from people, and everything I've read in books and media, and synthesizing the best aspects of life to help me be happy and happier. So one thing that I found that makes me happy is doing meditation early in the morning. And by the way, I've had a hard time waking up in the morning my whole life. Lucid dreaming did not come natural to me, and that's why I teach it now, because I wanted to understand which lifestyle habits make me lucid and which lifestyle habits put me to sleep. And by the way, isn't it interesting that in every spiritual culture, they talk about waking up. It's about waking up, but waking up while we're sleeping. Wow, what a great, cool oxymoron. And to wake up, what I found, I just have to wake up in the morning, and then it wakes me up consciously, much more than when I sleep into noon, personally. So when I synthesize all these things I know, and it took me many years to figure out, okay, for me, I need to push myself to wake up at 5 in the morning and work on concentration. And when I synthesize those ideas and I start doing that, then like I said, a side effect becomes lucid dreaming, which makes me happier and makes me I feel like a more whole person because I understand where my habits and lifestyle habits come from. So we're all synthesizing everything we know to create this moment. That might sound cheesy, but but being lucid, it's all about presence. And when we synthesize everything in our lives, it comes to this moment right here, right now. I know that's super cliche to say, hey, it's about this moment, but truly it is. And just so happy to be here, right now. By the way.
Eric, I'm gonna again piggyback on what you said more about awakening, because another way to define lucid dreaming that doesn't contradict how Jonah defined it is that you're awakening in your dreams, and awakening in a lot of contemplative traditions is synonymous with enlightenment, and awakening in your dreams is kind of a microcosm for awakening in your life. You know, we spend a third of our lives in bed, and if you can engage with that part of your life consciously, it's almost like you're doubling your life. I know the math is not quite that, but I think around 30 years of your life is spent in bed. So think of lucid dreaming as an opportunity to use that 30 years to grow and experience all these amazing things. And by the way, cultures have been doing this for so long. Like Egyptians have hieroglyphics that depict pharaohs lying down and astral projecting and exploring other worlds, and the writings of Carlos Castaneda and him learning from Don Juan in the Sonora Desert points to a much more ancient engagement with dreaming and in the Americas, and then Tibetan dream yogas have been practicing lucid dreaming for thousands of years. So it's something that's really integral to our human experience, and it's almost like the other side of the coin of life.
Yeah, I've got my own piggybacking to do now. So you mentioned utilizing our time that's spent in sleep and in dream productively.
Yeah.
And so I want to share a few things around that. If you have something that you're trying to learn, practice in your dream state counts. So what does that mean? You're trying to learn how to play the piano. If you can, in your lucid dream, go to the piano and do a practice session in your lucid dreaming, that counts. You're doing that practicing as far as your brain and your neurology is concerned. There's opportunity for problem solving. There's a very famous mathematician from India who solved his most famous proof from a dream and in a dream state. There is the opportunity to explore consciousness and the nature of reality and expand our paradigm of what the hell is even going on. When you have an experience in your dream that pushes against the boundaries of your paradigm and forces you to expand, like having an experience of remote viewing where you see something that's happening at the moment that it's happening, and then you wake up and you get actual validation in real life that was happening while you were dreaming it. Or if you have a dream and then that thing comes true. Prophetic dreaming is something that there's a legit study that shows that 1 in 9 people have had verified prophetic dreams. So when we have these experiences, it forces us to say, oh, there's something more going on here than maybe the dominant paradigm or our scientific worldview or the media and society is telling us that's going on. And we then are empowered as individuals to explore with our own consciousness the nature of reality and what this experience on planet Earth is all about and in the multiverse.
Can I do a quick piggyback?
Absolutely.
So I saw this really great meme. It says, you should meditate 10 minutes a day, but if you're busy, meditate an hour a day. Yeah. Now that's super deep, because a lot of people say things like, I don't have time to meditate for an hour a day. But if you do spend some time working on concentration with your eyes closed, one of the side effects is remembering more of your dreams. So when you dedicate an hour to silence and concentration, then all of a sudden you're remembering 8 more hours of your life, for example. Because usually when most people go to sleep, we were dreaming, but most people black out, and if we're lucky, we like get a couple clips at the end. But with the working on concentration with our eyes closed, that's what I mean when I say meditation, then our memory is expanded, and as you said, we get to remember more of our nighttime adventures rather than just a little bit at the end.
I've got a prompt that is within the domain of utilizing lucid dreaming for integration. How many people have had a nightmare? So how can we use lucid dreaming as a tool for working with, overcoming nightmares, and also working with and overcoming fear?
I'd like to go. There is innate wisdom in the dream state. And one of the things that we're alluding to is that with lucidity, you get more options. It's a higher level of awareness. And there's also this metaphor about that in your life. So a lot of the lessons that you're learning within the dream, the inherent wisdom is very valuable for your actually waking life. And one of the most prominent inherent wisdom in the lucid dream world is how to deal with fear and anxiety, because so many people become really good dreamers and lucid dreamers through these nightmare experiences where it's like impending, it's dangerous, it's scary, and with that becomes a lot of energy. So we say, if you're a lucid dreamer and you hear somebody talking about a nightmare, there could be this sense of envy, like, oh, you have nightmares? I wish I would love a good nightmare to go into it. Because if you can identify it when it's happening and become lucid in front of the nightmare situation, you can learn to convert the fear into exhilaration. The fear does not go away, it's still in your body, but you get to come at it from a higher level. And so that's one way to deal with a nightmare situation, and it can be very empowering and it can get you very lucid. And so that's one of the inherent wisdom built into everyone's dream state, is this opportunity to come at it from a level of knowing who you are in that situation, in that scary, impending situation, and then transcend it and convert the energy into something that's more productive.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome answer.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, like in waking life, we experience a nightmarish situation, and we have a choice: do we engage with the situation and respond, or do we escape it? And I think there's more integrity to engaging with it and respond responsibly. And I think becoming lucid in your dreams, become conscious that you are dreaming in a nightmare, like you have a choice. You can escape, you can change that monster into a fluffy bunny rabbit if you want to, but I think it's more interesting to see what that monster wants and what your subconscious might be telling you, so you can transmute that awful nightmarish scenario into wisdom, into a growth opportunity for yourself.
So I want to clarify one thing. There's a difference between night terrors and nightmares. And so as somebody who has struggled with night terrors in my life chronically, and anyway, I haven't really been able to have a lucid experience with night terrors. And if you want to talk about night terrors later, we can. Not probably in this panel, but with nightmares, I will ask myself, is this a lesson that I want to work on right here and right now? And it is a choice. And I have a child. I imagine a number of you have children. And I've had nightmares. And it's like, when my child is involved, nope, I'm done. I'm going to get up now. I'm going to wait. I'm out of here. And so it is a choice. And as I've faced different dream experiences where my child, whether it's my real child or the children of my dreams, I've learned so much facing those fears, such deep fears, oh my gosh, as a parent. And to be able to work through those, but to always go back, is this the time right now that I want to work on this and learn from this and do this, and or not. So again, there is a choice there.
Thank you, Eric. You have anything?
Yeah, oh yeah. So, I don't know where I read this, but here's how I've worked with nightmares, which I rarely have, but I definitely have had some. So this is amazing. I have woken up from a nightmare, and if you wake up from a nightmare, a non-lucid nightmare, you might feel uncomfortable, right? Because the dreams bring in a feeling. So one thing that I've done after waking up from a nightmare is I just sit up in bed without going into a lucid dream. I visualize the nightmare that I just had, and then I create resolve just in my imagination. And so, for example, if a scary monster is chasing me and I wake up, I'm like, oh, that was intense. Then I will just sit up, visualize that scary monster, turn him into a fluffy bunny, not in a lucid dream, just in my visual mind, and create resolve right there and then using my imagination. And then I feel better. I'm like, that dream was cool. It just taught me something. There are no bad trips. There are no nightmares, because it's all here to teach us something really deep, profound, and such a great healing can come from uncomfortable experiences.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just, you can also go back into the dream. I'm like, I've woken up and gone, okay, I can do this. And gone back into the dream and gone back into that circumstance and that situation and resolved it, figured it out. But sometimes you need a breather, and give yourself permission to do that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think about nightmares and in a way that's like similar. They function similarly as pain functions in our physical body, which is like if we put our finger on a hot stove, we feel pain on our finger because we're supposed to put our awareness there to do something about it and remove our finger from the hot stove. So in a similar way, if there's a message that our psyche is trying to get through to our waking consciousness, and it's an important message, and maybe we're just not hearing it or getting it, it's gonna package it in a more extreme fashion, and that might be a nightmare. And so oftentimes when I have a nightmare, I think about those as the most important messages to listen to, because they've kind of been escalated. Like if I think of like a hierarchy of messages that's happening at all times in my subconscious, like this message has been escalated and I need to pay attention to it so that I can do something to relieve whatever conflict is there, whether that's emotional pain or something that's trauma-based or something that I'm having stress or anxiety about in the future. So when people say, I'm having nightmares, I usually say, congratulations, that's awesome. Let's work with those nightmares.
One thing is a reoccurring nightmare is even more so what Jonah's talking about. If it's reoccurring, there is a nugget, there is something to tackle there that to go into in particular. So
yeah, absolutely. It's recurring because you maybe haven't gotten the full message.
That's what Andrew Holkek says in Dream Yoga.
Yeah, and if you can, once you solve it, it'll dissolve it. Like you can even see it as a question. Like, what is this reoccurring element asking to be resolved?
No doubt.
And you can use any kind of reoccurring dream to trigger lucidity. Because if you're like, if I dream of this again, I'll know I'm lucid. It's just another beautiful technique to help us be present.
It's a dream sign.
Yeah.
Cool. So I feel that we covered that topic pretty adequately. Thank you. Now, what about lucid dreaming as a tool for having fun? Like, there's definitely a lot of like powerful and profound work that can be done in that space, but like fun's important too.
Y'all better be quiet.
If you're not having fun, then you're not having fun. Anybody want to talk about fun in the lucid dream space?
I love fun. Yeah.
I'd like to take it just to keep the consistency. Otherwise, I might disappear. I think that with empowerment, there is this sense of like joy that's in there. And I can think of becoming lucid one time, and I was walking and I saw a group of people at a coffee shop, and I was like, you know what? Let's turn this into a dance party. And like made music happen, and everyone was getting excited. I started partner dancing with somebody. So that's what came to mind when you were like, have fun. It's like, but you still are dealing with the dream. You're co-creating the dream with the dream content. So fun isn't, sometimes it's not appropriate, but it is a great energy to put in, the emotion that you bring to it. Like, hey, let's have fun, let's have joy, let's like build an energy that's like engaging and got something behind it.
I hope this isn't TMI, but oh well, here we go. When I was much younger, I used to lucid dream all the time without knowing that that's what I was doing. I was like, oh, I hope I go to bed tonight and I can fly. And then as I got a little bit older and I hit, puberty, I would be like, I hope I go to bed tonight and you get the picture, right? And, but lucid dreaming and having fun in lucid dreaming is just like having fun in real life. Like you can get caught up in it and you can just stay right there, and that's the level you're at, and that's great. But I think a lot of us that come to festivals like this are hungry for something more than just, feeding our appetites. Like we're hungry for spiritual growth. So that doesn't mean fun isn't part of it, but like have fun with lucid dream, number one. And once you had your fun, figure out where to go next. Because that's just the beginning. Fun is just the beginning.
Keep going.
Love it.
So I just want to go back to the importance of writing your dreams, whether it's the middle of the night and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, that was the best dream. Oh, that was such a great dream. You know, that feeling, it just feels so good. Write it down. You know, you can revisit it. And in the morning, what a great way to start your day. But by revisiting that dream and that dream state of happiness and joy and fun. And I just want to say, once you've written it in your journal, put it on Facebook, right? Facebook has those Facebook memories, and it is so fun for me to then see these dreams, and I'll go, oh yeah, the image will come back. What made that fun comes back. Whether anybody else sees it, you know, it doesn't really matter, but you know, for me to just out of the blue remember that fun dream, and it's present. So Natalie Goldberg, when she talks about doing writing practice, she says when you write I remember, it's not in the past anymore, it's in the present. So you can bring that dream right back to you, either through your journal or put it on social media.
Yes, so much yes. I love having fun personally. And I know lucid dreaming is great for understanding our unconscious mind and healing and all that stuff. And lucid dreaming is so cool because it's ourselves communicating with ourselves. It's our unconscious mind communicating with our conscious mind, and vice versa. We communicate with each other. So for fun, well, when I'm not working on my healing and personal growth and all that stuff, well, flying in lucid dreams, every lucid dreaming book will tell you beginners do two things. They like to fly and have sex. So, and there's nothing wrong with flying or having sex, but if you take lucid dreaming seriously, that stuff's beginner stuff, but it's good. And when my concentration is weak, or when I'm at a certain levels of consciousness and I low levels of consciousness, but I still go lucid, sometimes I can't even fly. I'm like, oh man, I lost my ability to fly, jeez. All right, we gotta work on this. But I also think it's part belief. Maybe if I believed a little more that I could fly, perhaps I could. So, like I said, I like that fun. About a year ago, I had a dream that I was at a festival, a lot like this one. And of course I have a dream at a festival. So, so I'm non-lucid, I'm walking around this festival, and I see this big dragon, and he's burning people alive. And I'm watching these people burn, and then he burns me. I'm like, oh, here I go, I'm dying, I'm burning alive. And then I said, God, I love you. That was amazing. I'm coming for you, man. Thank you. That was such a great life. My faith in God was so strong. It was so committed that I became lucid, and I stopped burning. Bam, and I became lucid. And I said, woo! It was my faith that made me lucid. And then I said, well, let's go have fun. So then I explored the festival, went around, checked out that tent and this tent, and had a good old time. So it's our faith and our belief that does so much for our lives, not just our practices. And the one reason I love disciplining myself with the early morning meditation, which I do have a hard time with, is because I come from a very undisciplined place. I was quite undisciplined growing up, not with my behavior, but with my lifestyle. Overeating, doing this and that, not meditating, not working out enough, things like that. And that's why I got so drawn to the yoga, so drawn to self-work, because I'm like, so there's techniques to discipline my mind. And as I said before, I found lucid dreaming to be a side effect of that, And if you add reality checks and writing and binaural beats with your meditation, you put these things together, that's a recipe for becoming lucid quite easily, I must say. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just, on the flying thing, so I was 4 and I was flying all the time, and it was the greatest, and I talked about flying all the time, and of course other kids were like, well, prove it. And so I climbed up on top of our international harvester, and I dove off onto the concrete, knocked myself out because I couldn't actually fly in this world. But in this world I was, because my dad came out, picked me up, carried me to the house, and I didn't realize anything was wrong until I went through the wall of the house above my body, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't think it's supposed to work like this. And everybody was so upset. I'm like, oh, I don't think it should work like this. I don't want everybody to be upset, so I went back. And I learned, oh, flying is in this other place.
Right.
It's not here.
Right, they say pick a reality test that's not going to harm you in the waking life if you do the reality test. So like jumping off a barn is not necessarily a great reality test.
But again, at 4, I didn't have any, there were no guides.
Yeah,
Nobody was helping me out there.
I want to share some of the fun experiences that I've had with lucid dreaming. The most fun that I've had is in the experimentation and exploration of what's possible with my dreaming body in the lucid dream space. So beyond flying and having sex, I have been like, always, what else can I do? And so I have developed the ability to shoot spider webs out of my wrist and Tarzan from building to building. I can activate big white angel wings out of my back and fly. I can open up the caps of my fingers and shoot laser beams out of them. I can walk through walls. Telekinesis, the power of telekinesis in your dreams is really fun to play with, and I'll sometimes just like show off for people and do magic tricks and look what I can do, like raise tractors and stuff. It's really an exciting experience to be in a lucid dream and recognize that there's infinite possibility, and then to test and experiment with it. And like you said earlier, sometimes your experiments don't work. Sometimes you have an idea of something that you think you can do and the dream pushes back and you can't do it.
It's just like waking life.
Yeah, but there's like different rules and different physics at play. And so, oh, this is a fun one. I never heard of anybody else doing this. This is one I just developed with my own like innovation. Is I wanted to develop like a in-dream sonar to ask a question and then like be guided to where the answer is. So I would put one hand over one eye and I would say activate Oracle, and a little sonar screen would show up on my palm where I was a red dot in the center, and I would ask a question like, where's the nearest wormhole? And it would show up on my palm as a green dot, like in a video game where there's the little like sonar in the bottom corner. And then I would like use that as a navigational tool to get my red dot to the green dot, and then I would bring my hand down and there would be the answer to my question. So that was a really fun one. And then going through wormholes, like that's another whole thing. Really fun, exhilarating.
Can I talk about a wormhole experience I had?
Yeah, please.
I really, I'm kind of obsessed a little bit with the star Sirius, and it's always peeking at me in my waking life at the perfect moment. Oh, there you are. It's I don't know how we always make that contact. So I had this desire to go to Sirius in my dream. So I woke up lucid in my dream going through a wormhole. It looks just like the movies. It's like colorful rainbow. I can feel the wind in my face. I'm going through this wormhole. And I'm like, I'm going to Sirius, baby. Finally. And then I came out of the wormhole and I'm floating in space. And I'm like, oh no, I'm out of the wormhole. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not powerful enough to go to Sirius yet. And then I woke up. Kind of like I said, the dream pushes back. And it's part. I think it's partly belief for me, and I also think it's partly I need to work on my focus and concentration more. But how many blocks am I putting up for myself? I don't know.
Thank you. You got something, Richard?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear like the different techniques or the different like portal travel can be a way to like get from one place to another, and you're talking about this hand technique, and people tend to develop their own like lucid powers, and we hear about other ones from other people. Even the wall one, I've heard people walk backwards through a wall because it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to go forward, so you can go backwards through it. But it's interesting to hear like how people have developed these different powers. I'd like to share my favorite one, and I think the one that can be very useful if you get lucid. It's a technique that I call positive center, and it goes into this idea about when you're in lucid dream, you do have the power to control things and manipulate things and use different techniques to get what you want or the type of experience you want. But a very powerful way to manipulate the dream is through your inner processes and how you show up and your emotional, what you put into the dream. So there's a technique that I like to call positive center. If you get lucid, there's often still impending situations. Maybe they're not that dangerous. You get lucid and there might be like a security guard or somebody who looks menacing. They're not doing anything yet. I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but there is a character in the dream that could be impending or dangerous. The positive center technique is acknowledging that you are the center of that dream, that you're the creator God, you are the most powerful being in the dream. And so any other being in the dream should be working for your benefit. And knowing that, and even if they decided not to, they wouldn't really be able to do anything anyway. You would just be interacting with them while they're attempting to impede your progress. So it's a really empowering technique to have that. It's like recognizing that you're the center of the dream and fully embrace the empowerment of that, and then interact with other characters from that space.
And what an awesome metaphor that is to bring into our waking lives also.
Social dreaming is a lot of fun too. Tell
us about that.
So in social dreaming, you enter a dream together in community. There's different ways to do it. Often it's a spiral where you're sitting kind of in a spiral from the center going out. It can work really well if you have the space to lie down, to start in a spiral and spiral out where your heads are kind of together. And then you go into a hypnagogic, hypnopompic state, that kind of between sleeps, just kind of drowsy but not sleeping. And someone will begin by sharing a dream, and then it builds, and the next person will add on to it and add on to it, and people will visualize that space and come together to experience that dream until that dream kind of plays out and comes into the next one. And that kind of reminds me of what you were saying, Sanj, about that it doesn't really matter if we're all having the exact same dream, because we don't even know that we all have the exact same thing right now, right? What is the exact same anything except for sound, you were telling us yesterday.
Yeah. So like when we think about like social dreaming and how that might manifest in real life, like just look around, like, oh, you had a dream and you shared it through, your art, your communication. Other people had similar dreams, not the same dream, not the same outlook, but it all kind of came together. And just by attending this festival, and in particular attending this workshop, a lot of what lucid dreaming is about is intention. So if you have the intention to lucid dream, there's a very high chance that you will lucid dream tonight or within the next few days, just by filling your head with these ideas. So enjoy it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Social dreaming? That was good. I love the social dreaming thing. I've had the same dream at the same time as my partner a couple of times, or a handful of times, and it's really fascinating. And I also do visualization journeys during waking life, and there's something called active visualization and passive visualization. So if we both actively see the same thing, let's both see ourselves in a cave, and sometimes we'll passively see the same thing in our visualization journey just through using the imagination, which I find really cool. Is this time for the story? For the
we're definitely leaving some time in here for story time.
Okay.
We've got about, I think, half an hour left, and I want to leave time for questions and answers and audience participation at the end. So we've been telling some stories along the way, but if there's any stories, lucid dream stories, now's story time. Let's transition into story time. Yeah.
Perfect. So so there's two kinds of lucid dreams. There's your dream-induced lucid dream that happens at night, and then that's with most people. And then you have your wake-induced lucid dream, which basically means when you close your eyes, and if you start having a lucid dream with your eyes closed while sitting up or in your waking life, we call that a wake-induced lucid dream. Now, napping sort of rides the line between dream-induced and wake-induced lucid dream. It can sort of be in between. So the first time that I had a shared dream was on a plane to Costa Rica. I was with my late wife at the time, Cassie, and she was a psychic as well. So that night I only got 2 hours of sleep, and then I ate a little bit of a weed edible. So I kind of cheated. So two things. So a little bit of sleep deprivation and a little bit of psychedelic plant medicine as a training wheels or a crutch, if you will, because we don't need any of that. But training wheels are amazing. So anyway, I'm on this plane to Costa Rica. I noticed because I'm tired and I'm on this weed edible, I noticed that as soon as I close my eyes, I go right into a dream. I'm like, whoa, my consciousness never works this way. And I was like really excited. I said, okay, I should play with this. What should I do? So I look at my wife, Cassie, and I say, hey, close your eyes and just relax. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? I was like, just close your eyes and watch. And she's like, okay. So she closes her eyes, and I close my eyes. So as soon as I close my eyes, I visualize myself going in her brain, and I could astral project. I saw myself on the plane going in her brain in about 2 seconds, and then bam, I wake up in this white room. Whoa, I'm in this white room, kind of like in the Matrix, the big white room that they have. I was in a thing like that, and I'm looking, wow. And my late wife runs up to me with this little schoolgirl outfit on, and she says, oh, you're here. I'm so happy to see you. I've been waiting so long for you to visit. And then she takes my hand, and we just walk in this white room, and she goes, isn't this great? And I'm like, yeah. I'm just sort of blown away. Yeah, this is cool. Lasted just a couple of minutes, and then wake up on the plane. I knew what happened, but I had to hear it from her mouth. I had to hear it from her. And so she looks at me and she says, oh, that was nice. And I was like, what was nice? And she goes, well, we met my inner self. I said, what color was the room? White. What were you wearing? A little schoolgirl outfit. And then she explained to me the dream perfectly. It was just my initiation. It was just the first time. I'm scraping the surface of what's actually possible. But that experience showed me we're capable of so much. I believe, this is my personal opinion, I believe as human beings, we're gods. That's what I think. Lowercase g, not the big guy. And that's what I think. And I think we can do so much. And I think we have so much potential to type in psychically on so many levels and have so much fun in our inner worlds. So, thanks for listening to my shenanigans.
Thank you. Anybody else have a story?
Yeah, I can piggyback off that because it touched on this aspect of enchantment. That dreams are like this pure, beautiful magic. And in that state, we are gods. And all of the spiritual laws that we learn about are extremely potent, and it can instantly affect. Like, if I believe something strong enough in the dream state, in that dream state, it is the truth. And there's a lot of power and magic in that. And there's this, let's see. So with that, it is beneficial to have a sense of to accept that sense of enchantment in order to allow the dreams to have these amazing experiences where we can say, I believe that it is possible to go into other dreams, to go to other planets, to have communication from other beings that I may not fully understand, and it's okay that I don't understand. So some scientific people sometimes disprove their own dream state. Like, scientific people can get lucid and then say, well, all these characters are not real, so it's interesting, but they're not real, and that's kind of a disenchantment process. but it is a really magical, there's a lot of possibility within that. And I could tell a dream story, but I think I'll leave it there and just talk about that the dream world has this enchantment that's really beautiful, and a possibility to interact with otherworldly phenomenon.
Embracing the magic. Yeah.
Can I say something about that super quick? Something you'll notice about dreaming, and especially lucid dreaming, is that your thoughts affect the dream environment. And the more steady your thoughts are, the more steady the dream environment, but it's also okay to engage with it. So whatever you begin to think in your dream reality is what you're going to start experiencing. That
Do you
makes
want
sense?
to jump in, or shall I? All right. So what I had, one of my notes that I wanted to get to kind of ties in with this, and that is about, we are all storytellers. I mean, that is just humanity. I mean, that's who we are. We are storytellers, whether we're writing them down, but before that, we're, on the cave walls, we're around the fire telling stories. Some of those stories came from our dreams. Some of them came from social dreaming. Those stories come from everywhere, and they're super important for us to think about what are the stories we're telling ourselves, and what are the stories that we're telling each other. Where do those stories come from, and where are we taking them?
Yeah.
So as we do our writing practice, as we tend our dreams, as we have lucid dreams, what are the stories we're telling ourselves, and what are the stories we want to have? And I think for me, that's the great synthesis.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, the great synthesis, like lucid dreaming has opened up the whole expanse, like it's the mysteries. Like the more I lucid dream, the more I know what I don't know a lot, and the more humbled I get. And how many of you guys have seen that movie Everywhere, Everything, All at Once? Yeah, the mystery is so overwhelming, right? That there's a part in that movie where the father is says something like, I don't know what's going on, but I know that the least I can do is to be kind. And lucid dreaming has kind of made that obvious to me. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I know I want to make things better. And as a fallback, actually, we were just talking about this before the workshop. It's like, there are all these different techniques and tactics for lucid dreaming, and there's all these different spiritual paths. It's overwhelming the amount of information out there, really. But if it leads to open-heartedness and kindness, I think that's the awakening, and that's the synthesis that these experiences are taking us down.
I think that's a really beautiful note to close the panel, at least this part of the panel, with. Thank you so much for that. We want to move into the final piece of this interaction, which is questions from all of you. Thank you so much to the 4 panelists. And now, what questions do all of you have?
How would you explain out-of-body experiences in contrast with lucid dreaming?
Say it again.
How would you contrast out-of-body experiences with lucid dreaming?
If I could start, and then I just want to, I didn't mention in the beginning that when I started to study lucid dreaming, I came purely from a scientific side, so the teachings of Dr. Stephen LaBerge. And so I can talk about the context, of that through that lens, because he won't say anything that the scientific community would reject. So, from the perspective of the scientific research, and they've had people talk about having out-of-body experiences while in a laboratory. When these people report having out-of-body experiences, they are in REM sleep in the cases that they've studied. So if I say I have a dream that I leave my body and travel in the world, or I say I leave my body and travel in the world, from the experiential feeling of it, it's the same. And if they're lucky enough to be in a laboratory, if they're in REM sleep, then there's a lot of overlap between out of body and dream state. But you can see the power of belief in there. if I believe I'm leaving my body, then everything in the dream world will confirm that. So that, from a scientific perspective, out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming are a Venn diagram that overlap a lot, and there's a little bit of unknown on the one side of out-of-body, because, you know, if somebody, you want to leave the possibility that people are leaving their body, you know, also that's possible too. But in the laboratories, I just want to share that there are out-of-body experiences that are in REM sleep too.
I can also share my personal experience around that question. And this, I'll just take responsibility, is my personal exploration and my feeling in terms of the answer to your question. Different dream experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral projections, they have different flavors. And as you engage in these experiences, you get to learn these different flavors. And I think that personally, I think that there is a distinction between the experience where we are having a projection of our inner space, a projection of our psyche, where we wake up within the dream. And there's a dreaming that happens, and it's a reflection of our psyche. Other characters that we meet are aspects of ourselves and reflections of ourselves, and there's things to be learned in that space about our inner spaces. As distinct from the experience of, I have a physical body, I have an energetic body, I have a dreaming body, and my dreaming body can leave my physical body and explore in other levels of non-physical reality. And I think that the difference of these two perspectives is a little bit of the difference between the perspective of the Western psychological frame and the Eastern and indigenous frame. And I believe that both are happening, and we can have experiences in one domain and experiences in other domains. But that's my personal feeling.
I would like to add something also. A lot of out-of-body experiences are more overlapping with what's called wild or wake-induced lucid dreams. Most out-of-body is what somebody's awake and then they transition into an altered state, which you could call out-of-body or potentially a lucid dream type of experience. So, and that does have its own feeling, like dream-induced lucid dreaming has a feeling, and then wake-induced lucid dreaming has a different feeling. So going directly, like a consciousness state, like that we're experiencing now, and then transitioning directly into a dream state, and keeping your consciousness there.
Thank you.
It's also a theory that inside our body is a hologram of the whole universe. So even when we're going internal, somehow, it's hard to probably put into words, we're able to remote view, astral project, have an out-of-body experience.
And just a reminder, it's always a choice. So long time ago, I was doing a lot of astral projection, and I made the choice to do more lucid dreaming, to be more in a dream state, that I felt that I got more out of it, I learned more, I had more deeper experiences. And I thought the astral projection, that was cool. And I was like, yeah, but I think this other thing is much more powerful and important to me and to my learning, and I don't need that.
Yeah, Andrew Holacek talks about in the Tibetan dream yogi tradition how the end state is known as this thing called the clear light dream. It's just pure non-dual awareness, and there is no notion of like objects, astral projection, or any kind of journeying. Is just it's just a blankness where you're communing with universal consciousness. So while there are all these exotic things that you can do with lucid dreaming, like you can go as far as you want, and from that, at least from that tradition, from the Tibetan dream yogi tradition, going the furthest just means that you are just in communing with God.
Is that what he refers to as sleep yoga? So I've never done sleep yoga. A friend of mine has done it just from doing a bunch of inner work on himself, a lot of breath work and meditation, and sleep yoga being a side effect. According to my friend Joe Dolezal, he said he said, he explained to me that he had that situation happen to him while sleeping, and it sounds really boring, right? It sounds boring that you're sleeping but aware but not dreaming. Apparently, it's super blissed out. Apparently, it feels like you're in your heart space, and it's just like, whoa. But I've personally never experienced that yet. I'll get there. But
I've never shared this with anyone, but while I was reading that book, this happened to me around a month ago. I had a dream where I was in a black box and all I could see was a white dot. And I was just conscious that I was dreaming. And when I woke up, I was like, I'm reading this book about clear light dreaming. Surely that wasn't a clear light dream. I'm not that advanced. But every time I try to center myself, that image of just a blank slate and a white dot keeps on reoccurring, and it centers me.
it sounds like you're touching on it. It sounds like you're scraping surface. It sounds like you're getting
scraping
there.
the surface,
Because
yeah.
it's not like
I got
on
a
or off.
glimpse.
It's a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Nice, thank you. We're gonna take our next question.
First of all, thank you for your knowledge and your wisdom. It's great to hear from you all and learn some new things today. The question, people often talk about in their dreams being visited by a loved one. Flip that, and do you believe it's possible through lucid dreaming to visit that person?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes. and honestly, yeah, if you think about the question of like, is it possible to visit a loved one who's passed over to the other side versus like, is that what's actually happening? Am I actually visiting that person that's passed over to the other side versus am I visiting my cherished memory of that person who has passed over to the other side? Does it really matter if one or the other? And isn't it both one and the same?
They're one and the same.
The one and the same.
Yeah.
Life is but a dream.
Yeah. I've lost a lot of people close to me, including my amazing wife 5 years ago, and I've had a lot of experiences with her visiting me. Just one time in the dream state, but she would mostly visit me when I would sit down with my eyes closed and be quiet, and then I could really feel her and we could communicate. And sometimes it felt like my imagination, but the imagination isn't the spirit realm, but it's the bridge to the spirit realm. And so you use your imagination to tee up, use your active visualization to tee up a certain experience, and then you let come in whatever information you want to come in. You can trick your subconscious mind with any visualization you want, but with a particular intention.
It can be really fun too. I like, my mom died in 2010, and sometimes we hang out, we're in a dream together, and she's younger than I am now, or we're both younger, or all kinds of things. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool to experience my mom in this way, where it's still her, but it's a completely different her.
Yeah, when my grandfather passed away, I remember dreaming of him quite a bit and waking up crying. But it was central to like my healing process. A lot of reconciliation happened through those dreams.
It sounds like you can get a lot of closure, and also it's an opportunity for lucidity, because if you are in the presence of somebody who's passed away, it can prompt you to become lucid, and then you can interact with them at that level of awareness and the amount of options. So it's common that people become lucid because of those types of experiences.
I had an experience where I had a dream that my childhood dog came to me in a dream. This was when my dog was still alive, but living on the East Coast with my parents. And my dog came to me, and I had this dream of hugging my dog, and she was saying goodbye to me, and she jumped off of her favorite rock. And I woke up and got a call from my mom, and I knew what she was going to say because I heard it in her voice, and she said Tori died last night. And so, yeah, personal experience of not just humans who have passed over, but our beloved animal friends as well. Other questions?
Is this a daily practice, or does it just come to you at night? Like, do you go to bed and then have a dream and wake up in your dream, or do you focus and intend to have this experience?
So for me, the more I'm disciplined, whether it's dream journaling, reality checks, or meditation, the more lucid dreams I have. But I also understand a thing or two about dream incubation. So if you want to have a particular dream, all you have to do is visualize that dream any time of the day, but ideally when you wake up and when you go to bed. And if you visualize that dream with your imagination for, let's say, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, eventually you'll dream about whatever it is that you keep visualizing. And you can also write down the dream of your choice. I want to dream about this, and then writing it and visualizing it, and then of course auto-suggestion or affirmations, saying what you want to dream about, having that intention.
So we're gonna go rapid fire here because we only have 5 minutes and there's 2 more questions. So we're gonna get these 2 more questions in.
Hi, thank you so much for talking about nightmares. I feel like so many of my dreams, I don't know if other people feel this, are so stressful, are so fucked up, and I don't know how this is my subconscious, this is my choice, how do I realize this is a dream? I appreciated you guys saying earlier, practice of like when you're awake, looking at your hands or maybe doing some tests. How do you get over that initial hump of like, there's something I need to work out, this dream is so messed up, how can I know that I'm lucid dreaming or that I can change this around for me or something? I don't know. How do I get over that hump?
I mean, imagine like you're in a car accident in real life. Like, what do? Do you jump out of the car and run away from the accident? You have things to do, like, you know, if your body's intact, their body's intact, you exchange insurance, right? You address the situation.
Also, I could say something. Most issues can be resolved with breath work, by the way. That's why I've created the first ever online course for breath work and lucid dreaming. A lot of courses online for breath work, a lot of courses online for lucid dreaming, but I've combined the 2. That's my T10. After this, if you guys want some more how to lucid dream, we can talk about it, and I can also teach you breath work so you get rid of those blockages so you have more pleasant lucid dreams, because the breath work destroys and moves the blockages out of the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of material out there around how to lucid dream, and so to explore those materials, to learn the methods, and then that's when you can put those methods to work for overcoming nightmares. Yeah, no worries. Last question.
Yes.
I find myself as a habitual lucid dreamer often like resisting or not wanting the lucid dream if I'm really tired or if I have a big day the next day or I'm stressed, which is normally when they're going to come anyway, just without asking. So do you ever feel that way because your mind just feels like it never turns off, so you don't feel super rested when you wake up? And if so, do you or have you developed any tools to combat that sense of restlessness upon waking up from all of that movement?
I think that's why I keep saying it's a choice, you know, and so it's up to you. You know, you can choose, you should be able to choose to, and that's totally valid, to just relax into the dream and be there and be present in that. You don't have to be lucid all the time. Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Choice and go with the flow. We're gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much to everyone who showed up to this panel, Lucid Dreaming, for the great synthesis. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our host. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you so much, Jonah. Let's get a big round of applause to all of our panelists today. How informative was that? Thank you so much.